getting out there and watching it. Can we turn this off for right now? Please? Yeah. So the future of food, they talked about the history of genetically modified organisms, genetically engineering foodstuffs. So Monsanto is a chemical company that opened up in early 1900s. And it sold various chemicals. I think they might even develop DDT. I'm not sure about the facts on that, but DDT was banned in the 50s. It basically was killing off, the chemical surface runoff of DDT, whether it was sprayed on crops or it was an insecticide or something like that. But they would spray it and then it would kill everything. And it ended up going into Chesapeake Bay and San Pedro in California. The contamination in Chesapeake Bay is still there. So the critical component of species survival is biodiversity. In 2010, the UN declared it the year of biodiversity. And at the time, I was working in the Amazon rainforest. And it's not so much about cutting the trees down and our oxygen. It's that millions of years of ecological development gets cleared with the clear cutting of a rainforest. And I've talked to many people, because our project was called The Solution to Saving the Rainforest, and I'd run into Brazilians and they'd be like, I'm from Brazil, I know about the rainforest. And I said, well, we have the solution to saving it. And they would say, oh yeah, because we were a for-profit company, and most people think that non-profit companies are actually there to save the planet. And if you're making a profit, then you have to be a bad guy. And when anybody brings that type of situation up, I think one of the perfect examples of saying, do you know the difference between chicken shit and chicken soup, right? So you've got McDonald's as a corporation, and then you've got Whole Foods, who basically commercialized health food stores, right? So those are both corporations. Do you know the difference between chicken shit and chicken soup? So just because someone's making a profit doesn't mean they're doing bad business, right? Does that make sense? So I ran into this Brazilian guy, and he was a filmmaker, and he was a conscious filmmaker. And I said, this is the #1 way to save the rainforest: empower the Indians that stay on their ancestral lands, harvest the medicines. They're the natural stewards of the land. They know how to steward the land and live with the land. And when you take a leaf or a bark or a stem or a root or something that grows in the rainforest, and you don't clear cut it, it grows back. And you take it, it grows back, right? Berries you can take and it grows back. And so this keeps the rainforest intact, which is the most important thing. And you know what he said to me? He said, you can plant trees. Now that's a good idea if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But planting a tree does not develop millions of years of ecological development with 3,000 plant species in 1 square hectare, right? Only 1/3 of these plants have even been studied. And out of that third, 42% of all cancer drugs and 25% of all drugs on the market have been developed. Now, if you know anything about drugs, they have this marketing campaign called side effects. There's nothing about these drugs that are side effects. They are toxic effects on the human body. When you isolate, standardize, and synthesize a plant phytochemical, it becomes toxic in the body because all the cofactors that were in the plant, the vitamins, the polyphenols, the terpenes, all the things that nature has intelligently designed and allowed to interface with your biochemistry and heal the human body, are now gone. So you're isolating these one things that may create apoptosis in cancer cells or do X, Y, and Z. Now you've isolated it, it wreaks havoc in the body. Another perfect example of isolating and standardizing nutrients is iodized salt or sodium chloride. If you know anything about salt, good salt has about 72 trace minerals. It makes the body fully electric, and the 50 trillion cells in the human biocomputer, the human being body temple, is able to communicate effectively. You know, my friend owns a salt company and a salt mine in Utah. It's third generation owned. And he's got a YouTube video where he has 2 electrodes put in a bottle of, in a bowl of distilled water, and the water doesn't have any minerals in it. And he pours the salt in it, and the light bulb turns on, and then gets brighter and brighter and brighter with more minerals in it. So these are the things that make the body completely electric. So when you isolate things, how many of you have heard that you should stay away from salt? You ever heard that before?
Yeah.
Or how about this one? Red meat is bad for you. You ever heard that one? Right? Well, of course, if it's CAFO red meat, commercially agricultural farming operations, where they're feeding animals with multiple stomachs that are meant to break down grasses, grain, then that creates gas in those stomachs, right? Gas in their stomach creates acidosis in their blood. Acidosis in their blood, when you eat it, it creates acidosis in your blood. Acidosis in your blood is one of the 3 main factors of cancer, right? So there's your red meat is bad for you. They're feeding the animals garbage and they're creating sickness in the animals. So much so that some of the farms have been known to cut holes in the stomach of these animals, sitting in troughs eating, so they can get the gas or off gas, the gases out of it. It's disgusting, right? This is the world we live in, guys. It's simply time to wake up. This is nonsense. And if any of you guys out there have children, you know this is nonsense. And it's not going to stop with wishing the politicians are going to do something, or even marching or doing something like, you know, oh, stop that. And I'm not saying marching or voting is a complete waste of your time. It's a form of activism, and definitely gathering with people is good. But really it's going to come down to voting with your dollars. Because until we change the money system, and the money system is just someone else's idea, someone else's dream, that creates this world that most people are living in a nightmare, right? Just because it's somebody else's dream doesn't mean we have to accept it and continue to participate in it forever. In fact, it's all going to change in my lifetime. And I'm a spring chicken. I've got a lot of years left on this planet. So it's going to change, guys. I've seen the vision. I was in it. I was in the Amazon. I was working, and I had a vision in 2006. Humanity makes it. And right now, we're in a pretty perilous state. We don't live in Afghanistan, Sudan, Libya. We don't live in those areas. But you can flip on YouTube and find out what it's like to live there. And what it's like to live there is based on us driving our vehicles and fueling our houses. So that's another thing that's up for change, which is energy and the way we utilize it and how our economy is based. So we're going to talk about the 10-day transformation and how you can transform your life instantly. But there's massive transformation that's going to occur on this planet. And to take us from where we're at to where we need to be, it's all happening right now. The question is, you want to ask, which side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the latter part of it and catch on with the 100 monkey theory? Or do you want to be the catalyst of the people that are going to usher in the new paradigm? Right? Is everyone happy with the way things are going? How many people are married? Do you work? And does your husband work? Both people working? Right? Who's got kids? So who's spending time with the kids when you're not? I got kids. I want to spend all my time. Beautiful little children. You know, When we used to hunt and gather, leave the kids at home, and you go out and handle your business and you come back, right? So things have changed, and I accept modern society. I love flushing toilets. I love that, shit doesn't roll down the street, like they do in third world countries.
You don't see much of us, we get choice.
We all have our ghettos, right? And the ghettos of the world are actually, they're coming home to us. What we're creating in Afghanistan and Iraq, I live in Santa Monica, California. Pretty much the only place to live in Los Angeles because of the pollution from the cars. Most people don't realize this, but GM, Firestone, car companies and tire companies purchased legislation from the lawmakers. They ripped up the trains, the streetcars in Los Angeles in the 50s. This is history, this is the truth. They ripped them up and they built the freeways. Why? Profits. They wanted to sell more cars. Back to, I gotta finish the story on Monsanto, remind me of that. So it's for profits. And again, it's not bad or good because there's progress that has been made for some things. But when things get out of hand, where are the checks and balances to keep them in hand? Inherent in the Constitution of the United States of America, which was a sacred document, it is these checks and balances. But that's all been subjugated by profit and money, and things have been changed. Does everybody follow this? Follow geopolitics and really kind of what's happening right now? There's not much checks and balances. How much money you have is how much lobbyists you can pay. I have friends that are activists and they go up to lawmakers in California or they go to Washington, D.C. They talk to their state assembly or their senators in Washington, D.C. and they try and talk to them about real meaningful things, and they look their senators in the eyes. And I've been told by multiple people that the senators say, look, you're out of your league. I don't know how much money it's costing you to be here. I don't know how much money it's costing you to be here, but there's 20 lobbyists here that will take me out to lunch, buy me tickets to basketball games, buy me expensive dinners. You can't compete with that. This is out of your league. Flat out, they've told them. And that's how it gets done. I have a video, if you haven't watched it, it's about drug companies and drug company whistleblowers and doctors. I've got 3 people that worked in that industry. Dartmouth-trained surgeon chemist, somebody who worked for Bristol Myers Squibb, who is now a whistleblower attorney. And that's why I don't get any flack for that video. Because Michael Wilson has got my back. And he's a big-time whistleblower attorney. He's on Fox News and he's a consultant and everything. And he plays the game of straight man in that industry. But the fact of the matter is that it's crony capitalism and corruption at its best. And it's defrauding the American taxpayers and the American government. So there's so much dysfunction in it, and it's accepted into our society. So again, Firestone and General Motors in the 50s ripped up the tracks, sold a bunch of cars, and now LA is completely polluted. I live in Santa Monica, the only inhabitable place, personally, for me. You could live in Malibu, but then you're going to be stuck in traffic. You could live in Hollywood, but the frenetic energy from being in a city like that, it's like living in central London. You could live in Beverly Hills, but it's, again, the frenetic energy is 10 times worse there because the consciousness, it's like having the Kardashians everywhere around you. It's like, I can't even drive into Beverly Hills without just being like, oh, I need a shower. I have to like rip off my clothes, get in the shower, and then go out to the beach barefoot. I'm like, and I'm serious. It sounds funny, but I'm serious. And so I stay on Santa Monica Beach because that's where I want to be. I'm in LA because the media, I believe, is the critical linchpin that will transform human consciousness. Why? Because the human brain has been infected with a brain virus, and it's been delivered and really manufactured through public relations. Studying the history of public relations was developed by Freud's nephew. And so it's about getting into people's minds based on their fears. So every ounce of geopolitics and economics and scientific research, red meat's bad for you, anything that's been put on the news, whether it's economically, commercials, and that's what television is designed for, all TV programming and entertainment is designed to sell commercial space. I know because I've worked on selling Certified Health Nut as a television show, and it's a game. It's a big game, and they do not really care about programming. What they care about is how much money they can make. And in the 70s, you didn't see pharmaceutical drug ads. I think it was illegal back then. Somewhere in the 90s, it became legal. And now you've got these beautiful commercials, and I did commercials for years as an actor and as a model. And when I started doing a lot of commercials, I couldn't go out on Viagra, Cialis. You got these beautiful commercials, and they hire the best neuroscientists, the best psychologists, the best child psychologists. This is why you don't want your children watching television. You don't want them watching Disney movies, Frozen, all this stuff. How many people have their children watching Frozen? I mean, I'm not trying to make anything bad or good. I'm just saying, look, my daughter watched it too. I think like once or twice, and she's got Frozen on the brain. We laugh, but that's by design. Disney has figured out how to climb into your child's mind, impregnate and brand them for life. That's dangerous, unless that's your choice, and that's your dream. But is it your dream, or is it their dream? And then it becomes your nightmare, because I want.
Monsanto.
Right? You know my kids, they say, hey Dad, you're going to the UK, you're going to London. When are you going to bring me back? They should know by now not to ask me that question. But I told them, I'm going to bring you back a hug, kiss, prayer, and joke. That's what we do every night when I see him in bed. My wife doesn't like me to do jokes because it winds him up. And so I pull out the Cheech-Chong. I'm like, and so I said, that's what you're gonna get, and then we're gonna go out to the park and you get to play with sticks and rocks, and that's it, tough shit. And I said, that's the gift that you get. I said, the same plastic is offered, and the same garbage is offered worldwide. So I've been to Cancun, I've been to Miami. I've actually never been into Cancun proper, but I do know that in Playa del Carmen and that part of Mexico, everything's been turned into Vegas. And they're doing that to Santa Monica. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna last in Santa Monica. I'm gonna finish the Santa Monica story, and I'm gonna finish this. Tie it all together. But they're turning everything into Vegas, including Santa Monica. And I'm into as much branding as Disney. I'm into branding as much as Disney and the rest of them. Why? Because it works. But the big difference of what I'm doing is I'm pumping life affirmative messages into the world. And to me, that's holistic and organic. Holistic just means good for you, good for the earth, and good for everybody. So it's equitable. And so branding works. So I'm branding you. And so with Santa Monica, they're turning everything. You know, you've got Old Navy, you've got Bed Bath & Beyond. Wherever there's a strip mall, now there's like all the same businesses. I'm shopping in the UK. It's like I'm in America. It's the same corporations, the same garbage, the same stuff. There's only 4 needs that we have. Do you know what they are? Does anybody know what they are? You go out into the woods with some of these survivalists, there's only 4 things that you need. Water, food, shelter, and fire. And a lot of our fire has turned into technology. And you think you need your computer or your cell phone? You actually don't really need that. A good knife might be a little bit better than that. And so those are the only 4 needs you have. Everything else is a want, a desire. And we're powerful beings with the power of the Creator right inside of us. We can dream anything we can believe and conceive and believe, we can achieve. Does anybody want to try me on that one?
Come on, nobody's done it yet.
Hey? Anything. Anything. The Wright brothers thought they could fly. If I pulled out one of these 200 years ago, what would that? That's crazy. That's crazy. So, free energy, teleportation, telekinesis. We're extremely intuitive. How many women in the audience? When you were pregnant, did you know a little bit different stuff and could feel and knew what was just right and what was wrong? Right? That's with us all the time, man, woman, or child. Honoring that, turning that on. But one of the greatest ways to turn that on is go out into nature. As far as you can. Boom, it's there. Especially you go hiking with Andrew. What did you say about the meat? You go out, you hike all day, cook up some meat on an open fire, and it just, the consciousness completely shifts. You feel alive. So, same type of thing. Certified Health Nut, what it's all about is turning people on, flipping people on viscerally. Primal activation. Primal activation, feeling it in your gut, in your heart, being strong in your body, right? Because when we feel this, we know that we shouldn't shit in our spoon and shove it in our mouth, right? We laugh, we think that's disgusting. What are we doing with chemicals? Billions of pounds of toxic compounds are pumped into the environment every year since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. Evolution, whatever you want to call it. Right? Do we understand that? So back to DDT and Monsanto. So DDT was banned in the 50s. What we ban, we export. Right? So now I think they use it for mosquito repellent and stuff like that. It's sprayed in Vietnam and stuff. You ever look at your imports? I don't know how the imports are here. We import everything from everywhere. It's like, we don't have any money for the factories in the United States, and we just finance it out to China, outsource it. It's like bad business all over the place. America's like all mixed up like pasta primavera. It's like, our economy, and we want to create jobs, but we just keep exporting them and making these NAFTA agreements and all these agreements that just undermine everything. There's no more quality, that's just all rape and pillage. And anybody paying attention to what's happening in China? Everyone's got to have like an air purifier in their house. They walk out with masks. Children all have, like 50% asthma rates there or something. The statistics are just unbelievable. I got friends that go up the Yangtze River for 3 days, and it's still a black smog fog, right? The air in Shanghai is like, you're choking. Right when you go outside. I mean, it's bad enough you're in central London, all those buses are there. The weather's not that bad. The first day it was kind of windy and I was on the outskirts of London and it actually felt kind of fresh. But boy, 1 or 2 days went, the sun came out, got a little hot, and there I was in Leicester Square, just like, it was a different story. So, that's back to energy. It's inefficient. Pollution. It's unsustainable. You can't choke off the airways and the waterways and the soil forever without it coming home to roost. And in America, we have 70% of the American people are obese. You got cancers 1 in 2. It's not me, it's who? It's not me. I'm gonna override it. Because I studied Bruce Lipton's stuff, epigenetics. Montauk Chia talks about this as well. Whatever you program your mind, you can override it. So, and I've got my own issues. I get to actually test that in my own laboratory. I was exposed to black mold a couple of years ago, and I've got all sorts of funny stuff showing up in my body. Every other person I know has autoimmune, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. This is all becoming commonplace, right? Everybody's just getting whacked. The chemical toxicity is so high right now. We are nature. You are nature. I am nature. We are in symbiotic relationship with this natural world. So there is no separation. So it's best to get very clear on that. So back to the chemical Monsanto story. So DDT, boom, it gets banned. They're making money on it. That's profits. That's a corporation. That's an entity. And somehow, in the American legislature or constitution, somewhere along the lines, corporations became people. And now they have like rights. And you can't like attack them. And the rights are getting stronger and stronger. That's what this TPP is that they're trying to do. And there's riders, there's like legislative riders that go on. Once it gets passed through legislation, then you can't sue Monsanto or these types of corporations, these entities, because there's laws protecting them. They're like megalithic elements that they just purchase all the lawmaking. And so, even the educational system is set up to really program you for the industrial age, right? Bells go off, or in brick and mortar, institutions, you're sitting in classrooms, it's very uniform, it's totally set up for the industrial age. I did a lot of research before my children went to school. My children go to Waldorf school now. It's all nature-based. And the bottom line is it was set up to babysit the children, really, so the parents could go to work. Right? Study the history of education. It's all there. Fucking YouTube's awesome. You can research it to the bone. People write me all the time. Just because it's on YouTube doesn't make it true. Well, that's true too, but do you have any common sense? I mean, watch it for yourself and watch the opposite. And you weigh it and you see what you want to resonate with. It's just like the frequency of a radio. You just got to tune in to what resonates with you. So, the educational system is keeping a lot of this in place. So what is the education system? What's the essence of it? Sit down, shut up, regurgitate this material, and I'll give you a good grade and you'll be rewarded. If you don't, you'll get kicked out of school like me. I got kicked out of every school I ever went to. And there's something about me, and that's to be honored. You have a children that's having trouble in school, you have a special child that knows that what's being pumped down the pipeline is bullshit. And you add sugar to it, and then guess what? This person needs chemicals. They're prescribing these toxic chemicals to 5-year-old children in the United States. I don't know what it's like over here. I don't know the laws, but it's just like, next thing, ADHD. Here's a pill. Fucking child. People need love, not drugs. People need to be understood, not put in jail, right? We got this whole vilification, and we need to put this person away. And if Uncle Tommy, you're in a tribe, and Uncle Tommy has got a screw loose, well then you got to sit down with Uncle Tommy, with the elders of the group, and figure out what's bothering him. Not just lock him up in jail with a bunch of other crazy people, and then sodomize him and do all sorts of other weird stuff to him, and feed them garbage food and treat them like a lab rat, because they're feeding them all GMO chickens and chicken rejects that they're testing on and stuff. I had a friend that was was a Czech practitioner. She got put in prison for a bunch of stuff that she did, and she was telling this story in one of my Paul Chek courses, advanced sports fitness guy. And so what she said was they were feeding her basically lab rat chickens or whatever in prison, and she got sick. She got a fungal infection. And so do you remember where I was on that story right now? This morning, Andy?
What's the history? You still haven't finished the Monsanto story.
You got to
tie it in with something.
I'll get to that one. So with children, and with Uncle Tommy that's got a screw loose, that needs to be understood. And whether you do a sweat lodge with him or some type of rites of passage, figure out where his screw got loose and help him screw it back in so he can be a part of society. And the people that were weirder or even gay or any of that stuff back in tribal times, they ended up being the medicine man or the shaman, because it's that quirkiness that adds a special element. They're more clairvoyant, or they're more tapped into, and they became the oracles of the tribe, and they were consulted for, you know, what's happening with the weather. You know, oh, a hurricane's coming, or now it's time to move, or, you know, they had that clairvoyant element. So it's to be honored, not to be, you know, just labeled as dysfunction. Dysfunction is what we see on TV, with reality TV. That's dysfunction. And I'm in Hollywood, by the way. And another thing that got me under my skin was pitching my television show that has the nature as a backdrop, my personality, enjoying nature and turning people on to it. And they were like, well, what's the hook? And you know, where's, you know, basically what they were asking was, where's this dysfunction? Where's the train wreck? Where's the drama that we can film and manipulate? And that's the thing, there is no reality television. It's all loosely scripted by these people. I have no idea how someone gets called a television producer. I mean, they're literally, it's almost like I was in the modeling industry as well. There's just massive dysfunction. And the more dysfunctional you were, the better agent you were, right? It's a little screwy, and then I get to look at myself because I'm like, oh, well, if that's dysfunctional, and then the law of attraction is always working, who am I? So I get to look at my dysfunction, right? And I get to heal that. And, you know, my mentor Paul Chek likes to say, you know, you get cancer, or you get this issue, or you get that issue, or you get this realization. Awesome. You got cancer, your guru just showed up. You can play the victim, which is the commonplace and the easy road to go, or you can rise up and be like, okay, what's going on in my life? Let me take 100% responsibility for everything that's in my life. Because we are powerful co-creators. We're not victims. And somehow we got caught up in this whole victim consciousness, right? And it's like, I studied with indigenous Maori. I was telling Jenny, the Maori and the Scots are like the only two tribes that either took them forever to conquer or never got conquered. Right? What did they conquer the Maori with? Eventually, it was sugar and crap food. Weston Price did all his research on that. They fed them sugar, and it ruined their teeth, and it crowded their teeth and gave them headaches. Second generation, I mean, they had big problems. They still have big problems to this day. So the white man, they ended up making peace when they came in, and they gave them sugar, and it's like giving the Native American Indians blankets with smallpox on it. So, I forgot where I was going with that one. So back to Monsanto, anyhow.